This is it, people. This is what you've been waiting for. This is Everyday Celebrity Podcast. The podcast for everyday people with everyday problems, trying to find everyday solutions to accomplish everyday goals. Let's start the show. You. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Celebrity Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Owandi, as you guys know. Today, we have two special guests with me. I wanted to talk to these brothers because one needs some guidance and one gives guidance.
Ooh, which one am I? I've walked into a trap.
I mean, both of them are successful, but one I went to a all black meeting at UC Berkeley, and then one, the way he was talking just inspired me, so I wanted to have a one-on-one interview with him. His name is Marco. He works at UC Berkeley. He's in charge of diversity. He can tell you his exact title. And then I have another guest with me. His name is Raheem. Fashion model. If you guys don't know him, check him out. He's on all ads, Levi's, Gap, H&M, all that in the Bay Area. Raheem, Marco, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Raheem, you gotta talk. You gotta talk loud into the mic.
My bad. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta lean into it.
All right, I got it.
So, Marco, what's your title at Berkeley?
I'm the Associate Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the HAAS School of Business.
Okay, and what is
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Raheem, shut up, nigga.
I'm talking to your guest, my brother.
I gotta let me ask him some questions real quick. So, what does that really include, basically?
It mostly includes getting more Black and Mexican students, staff, and faculty in the business school, and then also creating a culture where they feel safe, they don't feel marginalized, and a lot of the racist stuff that happens on campus, we want to minimize that and have less of it. I mean, and so I'm creating brave spaces for students, staff, and faculty of color, so that way they feel safe and included there.
There is, I mean, Berkeley, what's the percentage of Black and Latino students there? Do you know?
I don't know Latino. I know for Black students, it's 1.7%.
And I'm assuming that's lower than it should be.
Yeah. I mean, that's lower than anything should be. I mean, you consider, 100% and 1.7% is Black, and we're here in the Bay Area, right? And I'm Oakland native, so I'm used to Oakland. It's a lot of Black folks here, and 1.7 is just abysmal.
Now, why do you think that is? Why is there such a low population at Berkeley?
Racism. I think a lot of folks who are doing, some of the admission processes don't come from those backgrounds. They're not Black or brown. And so what happens is when they're looking at applications, they're looking for people that look like them. And when I say look like them, it's not necessarily in looks because they don't see them beforehand. But what will happen is they went to schools that they went to. They have similar backgrounds. They have similar things that they like to do, like extracurricular activities. So, so when they're reading the application and, it's somebody that matches what they think is going to be successful, a lot of times they do that. But then also, it's not a safe space for Black people. A lot of Black kids come, and don't get me wrong, staff and faculty member, I think a lot of people get to Berkeley and just assume like, hey, this is Berkeley. It's right next door to Oakland, Black Panthers, all this, and it's going to be super diverse. And they get there and it's like, where's the Black people? And not only is it where's the Black people, but then you start seeing all kind of racial shit happening, right? I mean, a few years they had some nooses hanging around campus. You got Republicans, and not anything against Republicans in general, but, some racist Republicans that's putting out literature and then, in the classroom is problems. If you're a Black student and a lot of stuff that gets done in the classroom is by study groups. Well, we're finding out the Black students don't get chosen for study groups. And so Black students end up trying to figure this shit out on their own, and then they dropping out. And so it's a host of issues that UC Berkeley got to deal with.
I remember when I used to come out here, and like when I was young, I used to like sneak in on campus into the frat parties and shit.
Yeah.
And I swear, like Berkeley, like when you think of Berkeley in the past, you think of like the 60s, like people in like Vietnam, people protesting, and then civil rights.
Right.
And like Berkeley was all about protests and like we're here fighting for the cause. But it's definitely not like that now. I mean, I experienced like upfront racism twice in my life, and they were both at UC Berkeley.
Really?
In my whole life.
Really?
How'd it go?
Well, the two situations was when this we tried to get into this frat party, right? Mm-hmm. And then there was this white chick, and I mean everybody was drunk, right? And then we the white girl was like on us because I mean we black, you know what I'm saying, you know how the white girls are.
Yeah.
And then so the frat boys came up to us, tried to kick us out the party, and then told the cops that we broke in there, and then they were like, "Yo, these hood rats." Basically, it was the language. They were like, "Yeah, these hood rats snuck in our and tried to." Basically, they tried to say that we were trying to like rape this girl, but we were out in the open, like talking to the chick.
Damn, you almost got caught up in one of those situations.
Exactly, but it wasn't even. We didn't even. It wasn't even no touching or anything.
But that's how fast it can happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's all based off of just some words.
Yeah.
You know
And then the other situation was I was walking, and then these group of white girls were walking behind me, and they didn't know that I was in front of them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you were making out with that nigger all night and all this other shit." I must have turned around and like, I knew if I would have slapped the bitch, I would have went to jail, but I like literally cussed her out and shit. But those are the only two times that I really experienced racism. Because everywhere, I mean, I know racism exists everywhere, but a lot of people are not bold enough to say that type of shit in front of you. And the only time that type of shit happened was on Berkeley campus. I will always remember that shit.
That's telling.
Yeah. I've experienced racism all throughout my life, especially moving from different school to school since I've been in elementary, going from, East Oakland to San Ramon. You know what I mean? And then from San Ramon to Texas for 3 years. And so I've experienced with a guy in one of my schools in middle school, called me a nigger, pushed me on the ground, and kicked me in the stomach. I got suspended for 3 days.
Wow.
Another situation, I think later on that year, I was playing around as kids do, threw a pee at another kid. That kid, whatever, told somebody I got suspended for about 3 days. But he was throwing stuff at me. The person that got me in trouble was the person that was watching us, like the counselor or whatever. So, amongst other things, I've been called nigger off of, on the streets or whatever in Texas. I've been kicked out of homes because I was hanging out with their son, and their son might have been white. You know what I mean? Wow. And but many situations, but it's all coming from. I looked at it. I came to a realization to where people only know what they know. They grew up with certain type of propaganda about a certain race, and that grows within them. So they raise their children that way. Their children don't know anything other, so they grow up in that shit because the rest of their friends are like that.
Right.
And they grow a community of this type of ideology and this type of thought. And once it gets to you, they don't necessarily think about it. Even if they think twice about this guy is cool and maybe I want to get to know him, their friends will stop that immediately because they'll put that energy on you. Right. So after a while, you start to just look at people as what they are, and they aren't what they have been taught. You are who your experiences kind of grow you into be. So if a person is mean and racist off the bat, I'm not necessarily going to be writing them off. I more so want to talk to them and figure out where your racism comes from. If you have a good, explanation for that, that's where I'm at now. But throughout life, I had anger and wanted to fight people and and every single time, you're gonna lose. You know what I mean? So racism is still that thick to this day, and I didn't necessarily think it was nooses and such at Berkeley. Yeah, I guess, but it's just all over. It's pockets. But now that social media is here, we get to see more, and it highlights all of this bullshit that's happening. And I hope it starts to turn for the better. And I think it's starting to turn for the better.
Yeah, I think so. I think, one, Again, it's being highlighted more. And now there's like, social ostracism.
Yeah.
Like you get found out that you're a racist, I think a lot of people, honestly, I think a lot of people will be closeted racists. And I say that because I believe that's the only way Donald Trump got elected, right? Because it's too many people out there that's like, fuck Trump, fuck Trump, fuck Trump. Everybody I know says that, but somehow he's winning a lot. But, you raise a good point. And I'll just use the analogy. When I was growing up, we'd be driving in the car. My mom would tell me that you can't turn that little light on. We'd get pulled over for it, right?
Yeah.
I believe that shit to my 30s.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not true, right? But it's just something my mama taught me.
You talking about the indoor light in the
The
car?
little indoor light.
No, it attracts attention, though.
It attracts, but it's not illegal. But
It's not illegal.
And you
No,
can't
no.
get pulled over for
But
it.
it's a good thing that she told you that because it attracts attention towards you. And as soon as the cop looks in that window, sees you're black, it's a whole nother situation.
This is true.
That's
But-
good that she told you that.
But the point is, I think, is that just learning something when you're young from your parent, you'll believe that shit for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Unless you find out or have a reason to find out something different.
And then you'll develop that hatred for this body of people.
Exactly.
Based off of just certain thing that your mom just instilled in you.
Yeah.
Because you have a sense of fear for these people.
And then it's confirmation bias. And, so basically, if I think, black people are lazy, I'm going to look around. And if I see somebody black not working, all of a sudden my mind says, you know what? That's right. Even though I done walked past 45 other black people that are working, when I see this one, it's confirmation bias. So you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah. And your friends in your community will just embrace that and
Exactly.
they will just, empower that feeling because they're just as ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's more so about your influences too, is around you. You can just have 2 or 3 friends, but those 2 or 3 friends impact you in negative ways that will extrapolate your negative way of thinking.
Right.
So, and that's an unfortunate thing. And that doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter what race you are, because there's black people just as racist as these white people, and they're as ignorant about it as
I say
white
black people
are.
are prejudiced. I wouldn't say racist. Racist is
No.
an institution. Racism is about power and influence. Black people don't have power in America.
True.
And
true.
so I think black people can be prejudiced, but in regards prejudice about race.
That's a thin line,
But
too.
when you come to racism, we don't have the power. I mean, when you talk about racism means that somebody can stop you from getting a job. It means that you can throw a pea at somebody else and you get suspended and they fucking stay in the class. Right? That's a part of racism. That doesn't happen. We don't have that option. There's not going to be a situation where a little white boy is going to throw a pea at you and you throw one back and he gets suspended for 3 days.
What do you think about with black people towards the Mexican community? Because black people are in somewhat more in power than they are. So we could employ them a lot more, and we might attach certain stigmas that we're used to thinking about Mexicans. So we'll treat them a certain way because of what we think, but they're extremely smart and talented and strong group of people. But because of the certain things that we know about Mexicans, they just work on your house, and that's it. You know what I mean? And we kind of look at them in a small box, so we can also treat them negatively. So
let me tell you something about Mexicans. Mexicans, when you look at Mexicans, like when you go to work, right? Let's say there's like 3 Mexicans. Those 3 Mexicans are going to talk to each other and become friends.
100%.
They're going to hang out. They're going to take care of each other. Now, let's say there's 3 black people at the same job. 3 black people ain't going to be, and they ain't going to bond like those Mexicans.
They won't.
You Mexican won't even know a motherfucker from Adam, and then as soon as they find out he's Mexican, they go link up.
It's because we don't have that trust from a foundation standard. I feel like a lot of people, especially in let's say the hood, don't necessarily have that trust. If you're an outsider, you come into the hood, you don't look, walk, or act like them or speak like them, they necessarily will look at you as an outcast, and they can treat you a certain way. You know what I mean? So I feel like we have that as well, and that it kind of like stops us at a certain point for getting to know each other and to have that connection to where if we come across one another in a random place, we automatically have that, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? We start talking like how we normally would. We don't. We have that fear that somebody's going to do something to us or he's shady, or that's a natural thing that I think that African Americans have towards one another, especially like the younger youth in our age, our generation. I mean, what do you think?
I think that you're right, but I think from historical context, that was instilled in us from slavery.
Yes.
Right? And so,
house nigga, slave.
Right. Light skin, dark skin, divide and conquer.
100%.
And because that was instilled in us, many times, many of the things that we do, we inadvertently pass that down. not even realizing it. But it's just in some of the things that, you know, we'll say, we'll do, how we'll behave, our kids will pick up on it. And it just becomes bigger and bigger, and then we don't even know why we do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was instilled in us to keep us from coming together. And so I think that now we have to be deliberate, right, on making those connections, on dispelling those myths, on telling our kids like, hey, you know, that's not your enemy.
100%.
And I'll be honest, you know, I work on it now. I mean, I'm born and raised in East Oakland. You know, I grew up, you know, rough, if you will, and had the same thing. I mean, I remember if you came down my street, 73rd and Wells Street, you know, I didn't know you. I want to fight, just period. I mean, it's just a fucking pit bull mentality, right?
Yeah.
And some of that still lingers in me. And so I walk in spaces and I'm like, I size up everybody as soon as I get in the room. And
As you should, though.
But I have to tell myself, you know what? Especially when it comes to black men, actually, he's on my side.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of taking my mind to, okay, what would I do in a situation shit go bad? You know, who I'm gonna punch first? You know, I say, you know what? That he's my team member. You're my team member. All right. And so I have to consciously do that to this day because we were raised wrong. Yeah. And then a lot of this shit was put in us intentionally, and we got to reverse it.
This is my view on why black people don't kumbaya with each other that much. Is because we black people are the only ones that are in competition with ourselves. White people, they want to be us. They take our style. They want to date us and blah blah blah. They envy our culture. Mexicans envy our culture. I mean, they have their own culture, but a lot of them envy the black culture. Filipinos, you can go down the list. Chinese people, especially Chinese, Asians, they love black culture. Black people are the only race that don't like seek out other people's culture. Like we don't. When is the last time you see black people like try to embrace Mexican culture or Chinese culture? So we are at the top of the food chain. So we have no one to. So basically, we are in competition with each other. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Because everyone else wants to be us.
Yeah, I can see.
So
it.
that's how I feel about that.
It's just an interesting dynamic because we're at the top of the food chain there, and they're at the bottom of the food chain everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's the fucked up dynamic, right? Because now we got this great culture, we got these great traditions, we got all these other things that everybody else want, but we don't benefit from it, right? And so, you know, white people want to be like us, but they're not advocating for us. They're not hiring us. They're not giving us, you know, opportunity at the housing in their neighborhoods.
I feel like that's because we show, and that goes back to the slave mentality, one versus black versus light skin versus dark skin. It goes to that competition to where, damn, I almost lost my train of thought. We have that competition with one another because from the very beginning, we were separated. And so we're looked at each other like he's better and I'm less. And so I had to compete this much stronger to that guy because he looks better than me. And it's going through your DNA, all steps of the ladder. So it comes into, you know, if you coming from a different neighborhood, you have nicer clothes than this black dude over here that does not have nicer clothes. He automatically is mad at you. He's angry because you have something more than him. So he wants to compete with you instead of just kind of working with one another. So society has seen that we can't work together. So they don't pretty much put us up here because we haven't put ourselves up here to link up and work together and build a unit like they're trying to do now with Jay-Z. He's building Black Pyramid, the Black Pyramid, the Rockefeller thing, and he's got all these other corporations. Kevin Hart's opening up so many different lanes. Nipsey Hussle was doing that and opening up so many different lanes, especially to the tech world. So these type of people are helping their community. They're trying to link and build each other up. But for so long, we didn't have that connection because we didn't have social media for us to talk to each other and meet each other. We were stuck in our pockets and we were just getting used to what we were used to when we were staying down here. We weren't able to connect. Now we're able to connect. So now we are able to build a community and build ourselves up to that totem pole where we actually are, because like all of the other cultures are pretty much taken in our culture because we are a culture. We started with the shit from Africa with the dancing and all of this, the beautiful beads and colorful
drums.
Like we have the drum. We have that. We started all of that. So of course, the rest of the world is going to love that shit.
Let me.
But hold on, to my point, as far as the rest of the races, I feel like they're not stealing or trying to be us. I feel like they see something that we like, that we embody, and they're like, shit, that's beautiful. I want that. Just like you see somebody with a nice ass car, you're able to have a nice ass car. If you look at yours and be like, I like that car. I want to probably paint my car like that, put some rims on it so it looks better like that. It's just someone appreciating you and embodying and making that within themselves. I don't feel like it's stealing. Now, some people do steal culture, but, you can kind of tell. It comes off a certain way. It's not as authentic. But when I was in Japan and I saw that culture, it was their culture, but they just took pieces of the hip hop and black culture, but it was tastefully done. It was respectfully done. You know what I mean? Even one cat was out there rapping Eminem, bro, freestyling. You know what I mean? And I was like, that blew me away. Right. Asian cat in Chinese, but I knew the song but I was like, yo, but it was not like he wasn't doing all this other shit. He was rapping it. And that's just like, you're just respecting a culture, and African Americans, we started the culture, and everyone just loves it. That's how I look at it.
All right. Well, let me ask you guys this. Like you were just saying, everyone black that you would talk to, I guarantee if you talk to like 10, you go to 10 black people and you talk to them, of course, everyone is going to say, yes, I support black, or we should have this black, we should have that black. Mm-hmm. Now, if all the black people feel this way, why isn't it happening? For an example, everyone wants to support black businesses. Why isn't it that black people don't? Why aren't black businesses the top of the line? Why is it that black media, everyone, we should support black media? How come black media is not like the top of media? Let's get some realistic. I mean, all this hoopla like, black, but when it comes down to it, black people don't support black people. But you'll say you should support black people. So let me hear your answer to that.
Well, my thought is this: America's racist. America was built on racism, right? And what you have to understand is, even if you're black in America, you're a part of that. I grew up thinking Vanna White was the most beautiful woman on earth, because I didn't see no black woman on her, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, on TV. And so, there are certain things that are part of America that are anti-black. And if you live here, you're going to learn it. And so a part of us, we have anti-blackness in us. We believe, subconsciously, if you will, some of the same shit that the white racists believe, right? We know it ain't true. And especially on a grander scale, but it's some stuff we believe. I mean, you'll notice a black person going to black business and have a bad experience and talk about, man, that's why I don't support black businesses. Apple fucked them over. They don't say that about Apple. They don't say that about white businesses. Somehow it's ingrained in us that black is bad. And so when you talk about us not supporting black businesses as we should, again, it's deep in our roots and it's deep in our subconscious, and we don't realize it, which is why, I mean, we have to be very conscious about it. You have to do it. Right? You have to say to yourself, consciously, okay, I could go here, but I'm going to support the black business because it's black. Because I promise you, as an American, you have some anti-blackness in you. And trust me, I'm hella black. I mean, I'm blackity black. I mean, I do black shit. I'm 100 black men of the Bay Area. I got black kids. I only date black women, black. But I realize that this shit is in us. And until we address it and even more so, to your point earlier, like the next generation, teach them something different, because it's been ingrained in us, right? And so we have to be conscious on, okay, I realize this is a part of me that's fucked up. And so I got to be intentional about fixing it. And not only that, I got to be intentional about teaching the next generation, hey, you're going to believe this. There's going to be some things that you think, but it's not right, and go against it. But I love to hear your thoughts, bro.
Well, how do you fix it? I just wanted to ask you that. Like, how do you kind of make steps to fix your way of thinking versus how you used to think, and how do you kind of like fix that? What do you do?
Surround yourself in blackness, and figure out. I mean, for me, since I'm born and raised here, I got a lot of connections here, right? And so for me, I do my best to shop black. Mm-hmm. Last weekend, I was at Spoiled Boutique. I took my girl to go buy some shit, right? We could have went to Macy's, right? We could have went anywhere else, but we went to Spoiled Boutique because it's black owned, right? Let's stop there, and we're going to spend our money there because my dollar needs to be back in our community. I have to share black shit on my social media, right? And I know I got white friends that are offended. And I know some people are like, this is just too much, but fuck that, because I done received too much white shit all my life. And so again, you have to be very conscious. And sometimes,
No, it wasn't white shit. It was more Asian shit.
well, I mean,
From China.
well, it was
100%.
probably made in China. Probably made in
All of
China.
it was made in China.
But I'm
Everything
saying,
in this room was made in China.
well, what I mean is not just the things you purchase, but the things that we see. We, you know, we believe, you know, straight hair. That's whiteness, right? We get that from whiteness. That's more better, right? And things like that, like fairer skin. So light skin is called fair. Why the fuck is that fair? Right? That doesn't make it, you know, but that's what we haven't been ingrained to believe.
I mean, it's fair color, fair texture.
Well, fair isn't a color. Fair isn't a color. We believe fair to be a color because again, that's what we've been taught. It's white, it's black, it's dark, it's light. But so fair just means there's another word for good. And so we ascribed good to lighter things. And again, we have to think about these type of things and reprogram our mind and be conscious about it.
Well, to go to the to I guess promote and buy into your black businesses, and only to do that, I believe in doing that. But the only reason that I don't do that 100% is because I love clothes, I love fashion, just like you do, and I just like good quality things. Sometimes
so
you can't.
Black stuff ain't good quality.
Some of the things that I come across, like let's say, no, let me not say that, because there was a company that I just stopped working with. And it was great products, and the way he handled it, everything was put together well. His material was very put together well, and I believed in it. But that type of business doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen where you are the fashion that we have. You don't see too many black-owned businesses that have that fashion that we look for. That's all within their own company. Like, they don't outsource and then they have a shop full of all of everything else. But it's black owned. That store is black owned, but everything in there isn't black made and black owned. We don't have that. So I'm saying I respect those type of businesses, but you don't see those very often.
Do you know those European, like high end clothing? Do you know that they don't want you to wear in their clothes?
100%.
Gucci, Fendi, Prada, all those designers, they don't want black people wearing their clothes because they feel like that diminishes their brand.
Absolutely.
But black people are the number one people who buy that shit.
You know what? You want to know why, though?
Who makes it, basically promotes all of their products. But if those same black people were to buy, let's say, there's an Oakland designer, damn, what the fuck is his name? He was at the Black Joy Parade. I have a sweater from him, but let's just say it's, I think it's called Suru or something like that. Have you heard of them? Suru?
No.
So they make clothes, right? So let's say all those black people start wearing those. For example, let's say Jay-Z was to wear that sweater.
That will blow it up.
It will blow it up.
That's exactly
instead of wearing a Gucci
but that's
fucking
why
sweater.
people are wearing Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Giuseppe, and all that shit.
No, they're wearing it because they think, oh, I have to buy this Gucci to get accepted by the white people. That's why they're
wearing it because Jay-Z wore it, and they're wearing it because Gucci Mane had it on in the video. And because they had it on the video, if they wear it around their friends are going to think they got all the money.
Do you remember Cristal back in the day?
Cristal, yeah. Promoted by Jay-Z, yeah.
And all the rappers were drinking that shit. And then, do you know the owner of Cristal said, "I don't want my bottles in their rap music videos." But I bet and then Jay-Z they stopped. And then Jay-Z stopped. Jay-Z stopped.
He was also getting.
And then what happened? You never heard about Cristal again. Did you? He was
also getting a check from it in the beginning. That's why it was being promoted in all the videos, because he was getting a check to promote that shit. You know what I'm saying? That was guerrilla marketing. But the point is, these companies don't fucking want, even though we're the main. They don't want you to, but they still gonna pay you to do it. Just why? I mean,
I'm just saying
they cashing out just like Gucci Mane. A lot of these cats get signed deals with these brands, and they're not gonna say no to $1 million deal just to wear the clothes for free. Then they wear it on the shoot, and now you're watching the video. You want to buy the shit. Everyone, that's how cats buy it. They're sponsoring their product. You know what I'm saying? And
all right. Well, let's end this subject. And all right, now
I feel like they should be promoting. You know.
All right, Raheem. What you just started talking. I didn't even get to introduce you yet. We didn't.
I was gonna say that.
Oh, I wanted to talk about. On that topic, as far as black businesses and respect.
The topic is over.
Well, it's not going to be over because I had a story that I wanted to share with that. Because I worked with a brand that was very he was a black-owned business from Oakland. Good products. I worked for him for the face of his brand for about 2.5 years. As I worked with him for 2.5 years, I believed in his brand. That's why I kept working with him. But I'm also signed to another agency, also working through them. But I believe in his brand. I wore his shit, did the video shoots, the photo shoots, all that shit. 2.5 years in, I said, hey man, I want to buy into it. I want to invest in this company. I believe in it. It can do well.
What's the name of the brand?
I'm not going to put him out there like that.
Why not?
He and I ended on not so good terms because of what I'm about to say. I offered him 10 bands out of my own hard-earned money, and I was like, look, I want to put this in either exchange for equity or, put in for a storefront, and I just get like an exchange. We do something like that, just something real quick. And spit in my face and was like, nah, man, I spend that shit on leather jackets. And I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to invest in your brand that I feel like is, it's black owned. This is something that I want to, will help you with. You know what I mean?
Maybe he didn't want to give up ownership.
No, it's no ownership. I'm exchanging for a percentage of equity just to be a part of him. Instead of being the face, I want to work alongside him. I want to build it because there was a lot of things that I felt like I can help improve with not only his product, but also, storefront, what have you, to build the brand. And I wanted to work with that because I'm working in fashion. So why not, help him with the shit that I know. But it was that where another brother didn't, I guess, want to work with somebody else that he felt that was beneath him because he didn't have as much money or he didn't have the connections that he had. So he was like, nah, I don't want to work, fuck him. But nobody else is willing to throw in their type of money and investment. If I put $10,000 in an Apple stock, I'm pretty sure they're not going to text me back and be like, nah, bro, we don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you work with, you know what I'm saying? Now, if I did that to a white dude, somebody could look at that and be like, why wouldn't you do that to a black business? Like, I'm trying, you know what I mean?
The point is, and I know we got to switch, but I'll say that unfortunately, we have a lot of business owners and a lot of black business owners who don't understand equity, who don't understand ownership and the difference. And so many times, a lot of black businesses don't necessarily, reach the next level because they want to control it all. And they don't understand the importance of receiving $10,000 from somebody else as an investment to move forward. But the issue with that is we're not taught that, right?
But this is a grown man, though.
It don't matter. It don't matter. You can be a grown-ass man and not be taught nothing, right? And so I know a lot of grown people that don't know a lot of shit. And so if you're not taught the importance of equity, if you're not taught, business principles, and I'll say that unfortunately in black homes, we don't even talk about finances. We don't even teach our kids about taxes. We don't teach our kids about saving, predatory lenders and things like that. And so if you get somebody and you have that situation, and I'm not saying that he's not wrong. I mean, that was fucked up, right? And the way he went about it was even more fucked up. But what I've come to see is that many times black business owners don't understand the importance of equity. They don't understand the importance of, working with other people. It's about ownership. And, I can go on a whole, thought process on that because unfortunately, one of the things that was taken away from us during slavery and, throughout history is many times we don't necessarily have the esteem. We have issues with how we see ourselves, right? And so that's why somebody can step on your shoe and you feel like they disrespect you so much that you want to shoot them because you have so much built in your, in just you, because honestly, that's all we have. It's just myself. And so when somebody builds something they're by themselves and they create it, a lot of times they don't want to give that up, unfortunately.
This is true.
And that's why we don't get to the next level like other races do.
But I understand that, but why can't we at least try to wiggle that somehow? How can we penetrate that way of thinking and try to open up our minds to, okay, we can try to work with each other. I understand.
Get with different sets of black people. Now, and I'll just say, and I'm not trying to plug it. I'm an organization called the 100 Black Men of the Bay Area.
You should plug it.
It's 100 of us.
Wait. I don't want you to get into that yet.
Okay.
Because I want to do a whole little session on that.
I just want to say that they do business deals because they understand the importance, right? And it's good to have that type of circle of people around you. And I mean, that's basically what, getting back to this. If you would have approached one of them with that same 10K, they would have loved it. And they probably would have mentored you and helped you, form your own brand. Yeah. And so it's out there, but unfortunately, it's just not as prevalent as it should be. And so a lot of times you can get burned fucking with the wrong people.
100%.
So that's the prime example of why I invited Marco on the show, and Haeem paired them together because I know Haeem, I know you want to create your own podcasts and business or whatever.
Real spill. It's already on the way.
And Marco works in HAAS School of Business, and he also does the 100 black. What's it? 100 black men.
100 Black Men of America with the Bay Area chapter.
All right. So before we get into that, Raheem, where are you from?
I am from Oakland, California. Born in Berkeley. Moved when I was about 10 years old to San Ramon. Lived out there for about 5 years before moving to Texas. Lived in Texas for about 3.5 years. Moved back to Oakland. Lived in Oakland again, Castro Valley. So I've bounced around all over the Bay, but I want to say Oakland because my family's from Oakland and San Francisco, Hunters Point.
What did you move to Texas for?
High school. My mom, after my grandmother passed away, she sold her home out off of Sycamore Road down the street from Oakland Zoo. Mm-hmm. After she sold her home, the family kind of broke up, and my mom took her portion and wanted to buy a home in a better area and put me in a better position. Also, my brother that's 8 years older than me. And he was already grown at the time, but she kind of wanted to move him out of the situation that he was in and put me in a better place and moved us out to Texas and lived out there for 3 years, went to 4 high schools out there and almost fucking lost my life to pneumonia in the worst case.
Why were you bouncing around high school to high school?
The first high school that I went to was really bad. Like it was like Dangerous Minds. You remember Dangerous Minds? Mm-hmm. So it was like that, and it was really fucked up.
Where in Texas was this?
This was Arlington. First school I went to was in Fort Worth. I went to Pasco High School in Fort Worth. That was the one that was like Dangerous Minds, hella bad. Then after that, I went to Arlington Heights, which is in Arlington. After that, I went to Martin. Then after Martin, I went to Kennedale, and I stayed at Kennedale for 2 years, where I got pneumonia in my senior year and was in ICU for about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was in the hospital for another 4 months.
How'd you get it?
So being from California, I'm not used to that 30-degree weather. It's cold as fuck out there. And so I would play basketball after practice, shirt off, just hooping with the rest of these cats. No problem. A couple days later, got sick really bad. Thought it was bad. Went to the doctor. The first doctor, he literally told me, bend over, put his hand down my spine. He was like, oh, no, you're fine. Go ahead. Go home. Went home, got crazy sick, night sweats, couldn't stop coughing. So my mom took me to the emergency room. That's where the doctor was like, yeah, we need to take you to ICU right now because one of your lungs are collapsed and another one is half full of fluid and being attacked by 2 other diseases. So immediately went into surgery probably within a few hours after being blood drawn and all this and that. And woke up, had tubes in every part of my body and was in there for about 3 months, 3-4 months before they moved me out. And then, yeah. And then finally went to school with about 3 months left, finished, graduated, and got in my first fight the last 2 weeks of school and still fucking graduated. Senior year. So
did you go to college in Texas?
I did. I went to TCC, Tarrant County Community College, and I enlisted in TCU for a semester before moving. And we moved back to California where I went to community college, Contra Costa College in Richmond.
What were you studying in college?
I did business marketing and what else? I started off with something else. But I think most of it was business marketing and business is what I wanted to do. I was trying to make my way in the HAAS, as a matter of fact, but I couldn't. Unfortunately, it was for finances and shit like that and connections.
Yeah.
So, how did you fall into modeling?
I was working in San Francisco at the time. I was working for low income and SRO properties in San Francisco. It's called TNDC, and I worked for them. And I was pretty much just doing that all the time. So I don't know. I was just kind of tired of doing that. I worked there for like 3.5 years, and somebody approached me randomly at a club and was like, yo, you want to go to a fashion show? And I said, for a fashion show for what? And there's like, it's a Carl Kanai fashion show.
A club in the Castro?
No. This nigga tried to play me. Jordan Slick, bro.
I'm just asking.
No. It was actually at 1015 Folsom for the Carl Kanai fashion show. And that was my first first show that I've ever done. And after that,
wait. So you were in Carl Kanai fashion show?
Yeah.
What year was this?
2000 and...
I remember Carl Kanai.
Right.
I remember the shit.
Yeah.
You look it up, you'll see the video. Ray J came through, and it was like the peak of Kardashian time where they slid through and all the shit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, maybe 2000, 2008, something like that. I could be wrong.
So that was your first ever show, Carl Kanai.
And after that, after the show was over, I got calls for cards and to do the shoots and shit like that, and a lot of free shit. And then I got calls to do show up at an agency, and just kind of went from there and fell into it, and then fell back out of it because I dealing with life, family, work, and it wasn't paying the way I wanted it. So I started to teach. I did assistant teaching. I worked in West Oakland at the YMCA at the preschool. That was my first thing. My stepmother actually got me into that. She
on
was
24th from Market?
Yep, right in that back street. Yep. So I worked there with the infants and all that shit, man. And
do you have kids?
I don't have any children. No, not yet.
All right.
But yeah, I mean that's a little bit where I'm from. I mean, I can tell you a million things, man. I've seen life a lot so far.
All right, so Marco, you're also from the Bay Area, correct?
Born and raised in East Oakland.
All right, now, how did you end up becoming how did you end up having the position that you have now?
Where you want to start?
Let's start from the streets of East Oakland.
Okay, so born and raised in East Oakland. Let me see. Pops died when I was 14. And at that time, my father was the only black man in the neighborhood who worked, right? And we lived in the 70s. It's called 700. And, everybody was hustling, right? Everybody selling dope, doing, all kind of shit. And so when he died, I lost it, right? I kind of lost my way. Went out and, started doing hella random shit, like stealing cars, selling dope, selling weed, all kind of shit. Ended up in juvenile hall. And so was back.
What was the charge that landed you in juvenile hall?
First charge was stolen car. But by the time I was 16, I went to jail 16 times.
16?
16.
Yeah.
So
is that just random, like you on the block, they pulling you in the whip? Because, back in the day, that's how they used to just grab niggas and throw them in the...
Yeah.
Okay.
They beat the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so high-speed chase, stolen car, drugs, all kind of shit. Attempted robbery. I can't remember it all.
Can I ask you? Because when I was younger, I was so into like driving and like cars and shit like that. And high speeds were always one of my... I kind of weirdly had a want to be in one day when I was.
All you gotta do is go to a sideshow.
No, I've been in a sideshow, bro. I dipped off a couple of times, but I wasn't in no super high speed. But I did.
You don't want to be in no super high speed chase.
No, I wasn't. I do want to be in one because I got bars like that, bro. Hold on.
You ain't getting away in no shit like that.
I know. I don't want to. I can't. But anyway, have you been? If you can tell me on any high speeds and got away, like. And there's like a story where you was hitting hella corners and you got away. And you was like, I was smooth.
No, but I did get away, but only, so I got away, but I wasn't a driver.
Okay.
But the driver, we ended up crashing. We hit a gang of corners. We actually started off on like, in San Leandro, 5-0 got behind us. We smashed, hit some corners. And then finally we hit one corner. I think it was like 96 in East 14. And I think they pit maneuvered us. Like, they hit the back of the car. Uh-huh. So while we turning, they hit the back of the car, we ran into the building. Now, it's 4 of us in the car, and we all teenagers, right? And we kind of look at each other. We're like, what the fuck? And then, it's hella police cars behind us, and we all just bounce out and go our different ways.
Damn.
I don't know how they do it now, but back then, it seemed like they only went for the driver.
Yeah.
So I ran, hit a couple corners, hopped in a dumpster, a church parking lot dumpster, and just sat there for like an hour. Waited till everything was gone and walked out.
That's kind of what happened to me. Same fucking scenario.
Yeah.
I wasn't driving. We were in a sideshow on MacArthur, and there's a shit ton of cars out there doing donuts. Shit ton of cars out there. Shit ton of people. But this cop randomly chose us to go after us. But my cousin was driving, and we hit a couple blocks, and then ended up parking in this alleyway. and then he just drove by. That's how we got away. But that was the first ever shit that I've been in, and I was scared like a motherfucker.
I was never the person that would be in the car with a whole bunch of niggas because I always felt like that's just the number one way the cop can fuck with us, and it doesn't seem like the likelihood of us getting away during a situation. So I felt like one, maybe two cats in the car at the most is the best, but I always wanted to be the driver because I want to make sure, where we at. I want to know, look, what I'm saying, where the cops is at. But I've never had a situation where I had to be in a high speed because I was always a dude parked like in the back of the sideshow and I walked up to the middle of the shit so I can see it.
Yeah.
And so when the shit jumps off, when it always does, I'll go back to my car and I can dip off smoothly.
Right.
So if the cops see you, they don't see me racing around. I'm in traffic. I'm
Right.
regular. I'm just driving through. I don't even know what's going on out
Yeah.
here. So I used to love sideshows. They don't seem like they kind of like they're the same aesthetically, like the donuts and it's nice, like a big circle. But I don't feel like it's the same as old school Chevelles and old school Mustangs really swinging like
muscle cars.
Really swing. I mean, there's muscle cars, but it'd be like new Vets.
Yeah,
or like
but that's
Pontiac.
different. I mean, that's different than like a 350 or you know what I mean?
With some real heat or some slap to it. Or
exactly.
Some candy. I remember there was this one cat in Oakland. He was at all the parties. He had a box Chev. It was on some like 8s or something. Candy, like apple. But the sound system was so crisp. He just parked it in the middle, and it was the music for everybody.
Yeah.
And that was some of my favorite moments whenever he showed up. I don't even know who that man is.
It might be this cat named Marlo.
But it could be Marlo.
Yeah,
Marlo, shout out to Marlo with the clean ass.
Yeah, Marlo, come on the show.
Box.
All right. Continue what you were saying, Margo.
So after that, went to YA, California Youth Authority. And so went there, and a couple things happened, right? Because, I had made up my mind I was going to be in the streets at this point, right? I'm like, fuck all that straight shit. And but they took my freedom, and I was sitting there, and I remember the feeling because I had to do 4 years in YA. And it's a situation where it's just like, there's nothing I can do to make this shit go by quicker, right? I am stuck here dealing with this shit with somebody telling me when I can go shit, when I can eat, when I can sleep, around a bunch of nothing but dudes, right? And, it's all kind of funk and, like wars, we had the Serranos, which is, Southern California Mexicans, North Daniels, Northern California, Bloods, Crips, Bay Area.
How old were you at this time?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah. And so it was just always something popping off. And because I'm actually from Oakland, that part didn't really get to me too much. What got to me was I don't like to be told what the fuck to do. Right. I don't like to be in a situation where I can't just walk out. Yeah. Right. Like right now, I know I can just walk the fuck out if I want to, but I don't like that. And that's what really, made me change my entire mind on this whole criminal enterprise type shit. It's like, this shit ain't worth it. Yeah. And then not only that, you can just look and see that there's people out there making money, enjoying their life without committing crimes. So let me figure that shit out. Yeah. So got out of YA. 4 days before I got out of YA, my big brother Tyrone got shot in the back of the head. And so that was fucked up. Sorry. Because I have 3 brothers, Tyrone, Donald Ray, and myself. And there's not a picture with all 3 of us in it that exists. Because from the time I was, they're like 10, they were teenagers when I was born, right? And so by the time I was a teenager, there wasn't a time when all 3 of us were out of jail. Yeah. And so like when I was getting out, it was so funny because everybody was excited. We was planning this family picture. They had, booked the session and everything. And I just talked to him and then boom, he got killed. And so then I get out, come back to Oakland, deal with that shit. And went to Laney, went to Merritt. I worked at UPS at the time, night shift, going to school. Then,
so I don't mean to stop you, but when your brother was killed, was that the turning point for you? Say like, I need to get my shit together?
What I had thought that I need to get my shit together from YA, right? But I guess the catalyst that my brother had for me was at that time I felt like he died for me, like because the shit that I was doing, we was doing some real fucked up shit, just to be honest with you. We was, it was, home invasions, like, beating the hell out of people, and honestly, just real bad shit that I'm not proud of. And so me getting out and having a second chance, I remember almost getting out when I was about to get out, and just remembering like the cats that I had funk with before I went to jail. And like, I'm gonna get out, they're gonna come light up the house, is my mom safe?
Paranoia, yeah.
Yeah, because we still live in the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so when he died, I don't know why, something in my mind said, he bared my sins, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so that was how I took that on. And so was working, went to school, got an AA, stopped going to school for a while, just focused on worked in the biotech industry for a while. Then a couple biotech firms, then got into outside sales. I left the biotech firm because I had an asshole Russian manager, and me and him would fucking yell across the room at each other, like cussing each other out. And I'm like, this shit is toxic, right? Mm-hmm. Why the fuck am I spending, most of my life here? Yeah. And so then I came to UC Berkeley as an analyst, right? Mm-hmm. I came in to do some analyst work. Somebody I knew said, hey, we need some analyst work done. That's the same shit I was doing for the biotech firms. And I figured since I was doing sales, I'll do the analyst shit in the morning, and then I'll do my sales calls in the afternoons. Perfect. And so that was going pretty well. That assignment ended, and one of the analysts that got hired, she got hired on a Monday. Somebody died in her family. She had to leave and quit the job on Friday, and so they called me back. Mm. And so my trajectory through UC Berkeley, I started off as an analyst, was there for a while, became an office manager for a while, then became a chief of staff. I was about to leave UC Berkeley because I'm like, ain't no room for growth here. And so the dean there created this position, the chief of staff position for me. First black chief of staff there, and did that shit for 7 years. No, for 9 years. Did that for 9 years, and then recently just got promoted to the associate director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the reason that happened, how that happened is, in my chief of staff role, I saw how fucked up shit was for black students at UC Berkeley, right? Mm-hmm. Black students would come, and it's like 3 or 4 of them. And, they'll be, if you can walk through UC Berkeley, and this is what they would tell me, and I think that you spoke on this, Jordan, that, you can go through and not see no black people, right? Mm. And so students would say that and I would say, okay, since I'm from here, let me connect y'all to the black people in the community, right? If you can't find no blacks on campus, I'm gonna connect you to the, the Black Joy Parade. I'm gonna send you to the, 100 Black Men Gala. I'm gonna make sure you know about all these networking and all these events. And then I will be a support system for them. I would talk to them, help them understand, help them navigate their careers. I got a lot of connections in tech. And so I would help them, connect them to tech jobs. You
should have started a fucking little black Facebook type of thing back then, like an app. You should have done, oh man.
Yeah.
Because you already had the mindset. You had all the components. You just needed the UI or the back end type of shit. Man, that's dope, man.
Thank you. Great. And so a new dean was hired recently, because you're a chief of staff is a chief of staff to someone. I don't know if you realize that, like Donald Trump has a chief of staff. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like the person behind the scenes that makes a lot of shit happen. Mm-hmm. And so when we got a new dean, and so, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to be this new person's chief of staff. I'm going to leave. And what they said was, okay, we're creating this new department at HAAS that's based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Why don't you go be the associate director there? And so that's how I got the position, and I've been in the role about 6 months now.
That's amazing. That's a great fucking story.
Thank you, bro.
So inspirational. I feel like because I recently just lost somebody very close to me, and I know that feeling kind of pushes behind you. So whenever you're like doing something fucked up, or you have a fucked up feeling of doing something negative, they kind of fall into you. Do you feel like they fall into your thoughts, and to where it's kind of like, all right, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I need to be back on track, because I feel like this happened for a reason.
Right.
And it happened for me.
Right.
So, all right, I'm thinking negative. Like, how often does that happen, and how difficult is that? Because I find that very difficult to kind of stay on track. But the fact that happened, I feel like that kind of keeps me on track, that the loss that I had.
So for me, it's not necessarily negative thoughts. It's more so giving up. Mm-hmm. So because this shit is hard. I mean, honestly, if people think I'm successful, whatever the fuck that means or looks like, just being black is fucking hard. Mm-hmm. And then trying to, give back and be black. And then layer on top of that, you want to make money, and then you want to fucking work out, right? And then you want to, all this shit is fucking difficult. Sometimes you just want to be like, fuck this. Yeah. Right. And so for me, it's times when I'm there and I'm just like, man, I don't want to do this shit. I could, just coast. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, nah, it's people that don't have this opportunity right now. My brother, and, I've lost other people since then, who don't have this opportunity. and I got to do it for them because they not here. And so that's how that shit works out for me.
Yeah.
So explain to me. Let's get into this. You touched on it. The 100 black men. Can you explain what that is?
So the 100 Black Men is an organization that actually started in New York with 100 brothers who were just basically black professionals who was like, shit's fucked up, right? And this, and what you talk about, we're talking about other races and we don't come together as blacks. And so it was like lawyers, doctors, and they're like, you know what? We need to come together. We need to build our community and we need to make sure we support each other and provide services for each other. And so they came together and they started the 100 Black Men. And it started out there, that's in the late 1960s, right? And so now it's 100 Black Men of America. It's about 110 chapters. So there's one in most major cities. It's Europe, Africa. And so we're the Bay Area chapter, 100 Black Men of the Bay Area. All these chapters have 4 things that they focus on. Mentoring, education, economic empowerment, and health and wellness. Wonderful. Now you get to figure out, per your chapter, how you want to live those things out. But, and I can talk about those if you like, but basically it's a group of brothers who realize that we need to come together and we want to pay it forward and give back. I mean, the organization is crazy because, we mentor, we volunteer, we fundraise, and we got to pay to be a part of it, right? So I'm paying to help this organization, but it's worth it because just realizing that if we don't do it, the shit's not going to get done. Yeah. And so we have 2 models in the organization. One is real men given real time, because a lot of people try to come into the organization and just get the name, right? Yeah, I'm a member of the 100 Black Men and don't want to do shit. We don't fuck with them, right? You actually have to come here and work. And the second one is what they see is what they'll be. And so we want to make sure that, kids and young black boys and young black girls get to see that there actually are black men, black professionals out there that's doing positive things. And for me, that was so pivotal because when my dad died, I didn't have that. And that, sent me on a fucked up path. And had I had that, had I known that I could be a black lawyer, had I known I could be a black engineer, I'd probably be a lot further in life than I am right now. 100%. Right? But I had no clue. And so for me, it's important to make sure that, this next generation understands that. And I'll just finish with this. I live in East Oakland. I live on 92nd in East Oakland. I live in the hood. And that's intentional. I could have moved out. I've never left East Oakland. And the reason is that I think it's important for the kids in my community to see me. Now, I ain't all that, right? I'm just a normal ass dude, drive a normal ass car and, whatever. But it's important for them to see hey, there is a black man that gets up and goes to work every day. There is a black man who, will put on some nice shoes. There is a black man that don't sag. I don't got nothing against sagging, but so that way they can have something.
I can't stand that shit.
Yeah,
So,
you shouldn't be sagging.
Well, I'm not going to go there. But so that way they can just have something like that to aspire to, because I think what happens is the black flight. We talk about gentrification, which is something I hate. It's something I fight against. And I can talk about that with the shit I do with tech, but
you're not for gentrification?
I'm not for gentrification.
You think it's a bad thing?
I think it's a bad thing. And here's why. Because what happens is Oakland was a wonderful place. Right?
Still is a wonderful place.
Well, let me finish. It was more wonderful, right? When we had a lot more black people here. But unfortunately, a lot of time when black people see a modicum of success, they move out to go be with the whites. And now the whites come and take over our neighborhoods that we cultivated, that we made popping. And then we can't move the fuck back because we can't afford it. And so it's important for me to stay right where I am. So that way, even though it's a lot of people in the community that have left, I'm still here and I'm gonna stay here.
Okay.
Is your thinking, is that because, like you stated before, you said your father, when you were growing up, your father in East Oakland was the only one working?
Yeah.
So is that why you stay in East Oakland,
Yeah.
so the people can see you working?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, about gentrification, since we're on that subject, how do black people, I'll ask you guys a question. So when gentrification happens, change happens, right? So you'll see stores pop up, street potholes get fixed, houses get torn down, and then apartments being built. So basically, a lot of people would look at that and be like, well, look at what was here before. There wasn't no Whole Foods. There wasn't no stores. Whole Foods is bringing employment to people. The streets were fucked up. We fixed all these goddamn streets. If gentrification would have happened, didn't happen, you guys will still have these fucked up little areas. Now, what do you say about that?
For me, it's deeper than what you see on the surface level, because the problem with all this dilapidated, all this other, the negative shit that you'll see in the neighborhoods that get gentrified is that all the opportunity was taken away. So if you have a neighborhood where people can't make money, if they can't support their family, if they can't feel like a man, if you will, and have a esteem about being able to do these things and provide, then people start to not care for the things that are around them, right? But it comes from a lack of opportunity, right? And so what happened is, especially in Oakland had all this opportunity, and then all that opportunity was taken out, and you left the people there. And the fucking neighborhoods went to shit, right? There's some, I mean, I'm born and raised in Oakland. I love Oakland. But we do have some neighborhoods, some houses that went to shit, right? Mm-hmm. And so then opportunity's gone. Now all of a sudden the tech sector is coming back, right? And now all this opportunity is here in the Bay Area. And so now you're flying people in from Utah. You're flying people in from the Netherlands to take these jobs and take these homes, right? If the opportunity had been there, or if you made this opportunity available to the people in the community, then that community that's there doesn't need to be gentrified. They will fix their own shit, their own problems. But the problem is that that's not what's happening. What's happening is, and I deal with this because I do a lot of, through the 100 Black Men, I do a lot of panels and hiring fairs to get Black and brown people into tech. But the problem is that tech companies here in the Bay Area, they're flying people from all over the nation to take the job that's here, even though we got people that's qualified to do the job that's already here. And they're not hiring us. And so now you got people who born and raised in these communities, and you got the Whole Foods and all this other things, and they can't afford to live here.
Do you think Black people care enough? I mean, do you think there's enough Black people that care enough about tech to get hired?
Yeah. And so, and here's the key point. And so I host a panel on non-engineering careers at Bay Area tech companies. And so all the jobs in tech where you don't have to know how to code, because what most people don't understand, and which is why I started doing it, is every job that you do at any company, the tech company needs. Now, so you don't have to give a shit about coding. You don't have to go know anything about coding to work at Google. Google needs somebody that's going to be a recruiter. Google need accountants. Google need janitors. Google need all this other shit. And if you work at Google as opposed to this spot across the street, you do the same thing for them that you do for them, it'll triple your salary. But a lot of people think tech and they think coding, so they don't apply for those jobs. And that's the difference. You can be whatever you are. You can be a fucking podcaster at a tech company and make triple your income or whatever the fuck you're doing right now. And that's the stigma. That's the what we have to demystify.
It's the lack of information.
Exactly.
Like this.
Exactly.
That's putting that information out there.
And
so.
a lot of people don't even believe they can get hired. Like they're like, oh, I'm a janitor, but what's the chances of me getting hired at Google to be a janitor?
Like that, yeah.
Right.
So a lot of people are automatically defeated before they even start.
It's lack of influence. So if your friends around you and your peers around you aren't even talking about tech or even know anything about it, and you're interested in it, you have to outsource that yourself, and then you have to find this information out yourself, and that takes some people are lazy. They're not going to do that outside of their own little, because they don't want to be looked at as weird, because they're choosing to do something that's not normal within their community and their peers and what they're doing. So I think it's just lack of influence, the lack of people around them, the peers, and lack of information. And it's not being pumped into our everyday culture within whatever we look at on Instagram or Twitter or whatever people are looking at these days. They're not seeing anything enough to where you can work here, you can do this, being who you are, you can do that here and make a bunch of money. And then back to, I guess, building your community and why, as far as the gentrification goes, I feel like that's also influence. I feel like a lot of these cats that do very well within the community, let's say, even if you do well by selling drugs, or if you do well, whatever, if you got money by rapping, take that little bit of money that you're spending on $10,000 of clothes or jewelry, take that little $10,000 to open up a store and paint it the way you want to do it. So the people that are your fans, they come by and see this. These kids, they see you're opening up businesses.
Like Nipsey.
How did you exactly see that? How that grew, how that spread? It's sparking up minds. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can learn how to just buy that abandoned house next to them and turn it into a fucking pool hall or Instagram, a podcasting place, like something that you want to do, but you let these people know, let these kids know that you are able to do it. It's attainable. You can do it. You know what I mean? But no one that they're watching on their feed or on any of these videos and people that they look up to are telling them any of that other than what to buy and what to wear and what to listen to. They're not being told how to better their lives, how to be healthier. You know what I mean? That's just not pumped into our culture enough. But I think now, because of the podcast and the social media, that it will be, and we're going in that direction. But it's important that we have these type of conversations other than talking about, I don't know.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I didn't want to put out anything.
Yeah, bullshit. That's why I said bullshit.
Bullshit.
So, Marco, you know about business and all that, right? So, in front of you, you have two people who are aspiring to have. I mean, I just launched my company, but I really.
Congratulations.
I basically. I'm one of those people who didn't know shit about business, who just took a chance and be like, yo, I'm just gonna do it and see. I mean, if I already know I'm gonna fail before I succeed. And Raheem, you haven't spoke about your business, what you wanted to do, but Marco, what's some advice that you would give someone who either wants to start a business or who started a business and wants it to grow?
Well, it depends on the business, but I guess some general themes are, especially in the Black community, we're afraid of failure, right? If somebody dropped out of high school or dropped out of college in the Black community, that's looked negatively upon, right? In other communities, white communities, that's perfectly okay, right? Taking a gap year or somebody losing their job, that's all these things that we see as negatives. You have to understand those are some of the best things that can happen to you. So the first thing I would say is, we use this phrase at UC Berkeley, fail forward. Mm-hmm. Fail as often as possible and learn from it, right? And don't allow that shit to be a part of your subconscious or part of how you see yourself. Failure is good. It's okay to fail. And every successful company that you've seen, they had ideas that they tried and failed on 100 times, and they finally got it right. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is, whatever you are, whatever it is you're trying to do, you need to network as much as fucking possible. Right. And I'm talking about you need to over network. And not that, this bullshit where you're walking around handing out business cards. That's not networking. That's just the shit that, amateurs do. You need to be strategic and you need to build alliances. Something I learned at UC Berkeley is that big business, the way that they operate, we hear about the big money deals. But those big money deals happen because of who you know and favors. Mm-hmm. And successful, people, and especially all successful people, they do favors for one another, right? And so what that looks like is, you got somebody flying in, and they think about coming to UC Berkeley, and they want to get a tour. Now, I don't do tours. That shit is just not my job description. But you know what? I'll do that tour. I'm going to do you that favor, mm-hmm. right? And so now I'm going to take this time, do this favor, show these folks around, whatever. Now, subconsciously, and I'm not even going to say it, but you owe me, mm-hmm. right? And so when I reach out to you and I say, hey, oh, you did the fashion? You said Ray J was there? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you connect me to him? Yeah. Because I got this idea and I know that he's doing this thing in tech, with the earphones and whatnot. And now you connect me to that, not realizing that because of that connection, I done made a $2 million business deal. Yeah. All over this small ass favor that I did. Mm-hmm. Right. And a lot of business gets done that way, but making a connection is more important. I mean, I guess that's the building block of it. And I'll say, as the chief of staff, let me take a step back. I do this thing with these panels with tech companies. I got about 20 tech companies that I work with. And I have connections in them. And the reason I have connections with them is because at some point, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. As the chief of staff, I'm secure. I'm not looking for a job. I start going to networking events. And I would meet people. And I'm meeting people and I'm getting their information. And I lead with, how can I help you be successful? What can I do to help you achieve your goals this quarter, annually, whatever the fuck the case may be? Let me take you out to lunch. Let me take you out to coffee. It's a lot of fucking conversations, right? But people know me, mm-hmm. right? And now, if they ask me for something, I guarantee to do it, right? Because now what happens is now when they think of Marco, they think of somebody that's reliable, mm-hmm. right? And so now I got all these connections with all these folks who I can call on at any point in time for whatever the hell I need, which is how I was able to, start these panel discussions. And so get out there and network. And what I would do is, I'll just be honest, it's so much shit that goes on, especially here in the Bay Area, that if you have a free night, you should not be fucking watching Netflix. You should not be doing some bullshit. You need to get your ass out there. You can go on Eventbrite. Eventbrite has so many events for VCs. Like, you can go meet VCs, startup founders, tech, whatever the fuck the space is. There's somebody there. I would go to shit for like people selling solar panels, right? Because you just never know. Go there, make these connections, and establish these relationships. And then when you establish these relationships, the more you do that, the more what we call it is a hub. And excuse me.
Give me some water.
I became something like what you would call a hub. And what would happen is, because I know so many people, once I know that you're doing a podcast, right? And I know that he sells microphones, right? I'm going to connect y'all two, right? And now both of y'all see me as a resource. Because I got you something that you need, you got him something. And the more you do that, the more connection you have, and your business will flourish, because what will happen is when people know what the fuck you got going on, your name will be spoken in rooms that you don't have access to. And that is a huge advantage that you can have over a lot of other people, because especially as black people, we only have access to so much, right? And when I'm networking, I'm not just networking with black people. Let's just be clear on that. I'm networking with every fucking body that's available. But I want my name spoken in every room possible. So that way, when people think X, Y, and Z, I want somebody in that room say, oh, I know a guy, and they come to me. And so, I mean, those are two basic points. Let me know your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100% agree. And that whole spiel that you said about the Eventbrite, after I heard you say that the first time, I started to do that too. And go on like Eventbrite and seeing like media, going on typing in media, what events I can go to. So I have a whole list of shit that I'm going to be popping up in the near coming months. And I'm gonna do, so that was great advice.
Yeah.
But, Raheem.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely try to, especially if I'm not familiar with whatever field that I'm trying to go into, I try to immerse myself in anything to do with that, as far as like meetups, or like I went to Afrotech just because I wanted to just, as far as just gain some different perspectives from individuals that know shit that I'm completely in the dark about. But I want your insight on certain things. But I showed up and I had a knee scooter and shit, and I had a big ass cast, so I wasn't really talking to anybody. So I just went straight to each little seminar that I went to. But that was an unbelievable experience that I'm glad that it's happening more so up here, because it looked like Wakanda in there. It really blew
I was
my
there.
mind, bro.
It was fucking amazing.
Yeah, man. And I think it's very important for a person to put themselves in any situations that they can gain connections or insight on anything that they're doing. So. Yeah. Another
thing that I'll add, I mean, you spoke on a bit earlier, when you try to do, that 10K deal, right? Again, I think that, as business owners, you have this idea that you want to flourish, and many times we're very specific on what we want that to look like. And sometimes we need to partner with other people, and what that partnership might look like, your original idea might change a little bit, but if it keeps the basic substance, be willing to change, right? Because that partnership,
being open-minded is very important.
That partnership will help expand your boundaries. And I think that's one of the reasons, or one of the ways that a lot of black businesses don't succeed, is because we try to do it all on our own, right? Because we want all the profits, and so we try to do it all, and you can't. And if you look at every tech company, they have co-founders. That shit's intentional, because you can't take it all on your own.
100%.
But do you think it's having sole ownership of your creation is a powerful thing?
Hell yeah.
So, but do you think a person should try that at first, or are you saying that they should seek partnership at first?
It depends on the idea. Again, there are some things that you probably can do by yourself, especially with some smaller businesses. But I'll say this, is that a partnership doesn't necessarily have to mean 50-50, right? It could be 90-10. But either which way, you have someone helping you with your original idea, so that way you're not taking all on the load by yourself. Yeah. And like I said earlier, as black men, you got enough shit going on. You got enough shit going on that just living is going to be fucking difficult, you know? And so when you take on this new endeavor that you're trying to move forward, that's a lot more weight. And you'll find yourself in a lot of more situations where you're thinking, I want to give up, right? I think on your Instagram, you posted something about, you know, people think, don't let social media fool you. People think entrepreneurship is sexy, but you're going to be broke. You're going to have some hard ass times. You are. But it's better to be able to share some of those hard times and outsource some of the shit that you got going on than to have to take it all on your own.
Because that stress will break you down.
Yeah, it will.
I mean, it will cut that time in half and that confidence that you want to go forward. If you don't have somebody to bring that on and help bring in their ideas as well, take off some of that stress, it'll break that type of stress will break you down and discourage you from going further. And also put blinders on you from seeing other people that are around you that are also people that are probably good resources as well.
Exactly. And you need a second opinion.
Yeah.
Right. We get caught up. We get bullheaded. You know, we want to do shit our way. And sometimes you need a second opinion to say, hey, I know you think we should go right, but here's why you might want to consider going left. And then all of a sudden it's like, that's you got a fucking good point. And not only that,
I love those moments. Yeah.
Like you have a pneumonia for 3 months. If you're doing shit by yourself and you catch pneumonia for 3 months, everything shuts down. Mm-hmm. Let's just say you get
6 months.
6 months. You get falsely imprisoned for whatever reason, right? Whatever the fuck, something bad can happen. And if you're the only one doing it, you shit out of luck. Mm-hmm. But if you have a partner that can keep the vision going for whatever reason, you know, if you need to take a business trip to China to meet with somebody for a month, right? Mm-hmm. You need somebody that's on your team that's going to keep the vision going.
100%.
All right. Well, this is the part of the podcast where I let you guys if you guys want to promote anything, like him, if you want to promote your
the real spiel coming soon,
and then Marco, if you want to promote anything, tell the people your social media where so Marco, you can tell the people where they can find you on social media if they want to reach out. If like people are listening to this and they just want some advice from you, you can like give them your email or whatever, give them your Instagram, tell them how can someone learn more about the 100 Black Men. So
got it. So I'll plug. Well, so find me on Instagram, Black_Gallivanter. I travel a lot, and so I took on that name. You can find me on LinkedIn at Marco T. Lindsey. 100 Black Men, 100blackmenba.org. You can find, that's our website. You can find every member we have, every initiative that we got going on. And then also, March 18th, we're hosting a panel discussion that, you know, everyone you should be there. And it's for get more Black and brown people in tech. It's on Eventbrite, and it's called Non-Traditionally Trained Engineers in the Bay Area. And the idea is there's a lot of folks here who know how to code, but they didn't go to MIT, right? And so what we've done is we've got some recruiters, we got some tech companies, we got some folks that are going to be in the building who are going to be able to connect you to the jobs that they have, because they get in trouble for not having Black and brown people. That shit is bad press. So even if they don't want to do it because they're good people, they want the good press, right? And so what we're doing is on March 18th, non-traditionally trained engineers in the Bay Area, and it's not just for engineers. They're hiring for all roles. Right. And so like I was talking about earlier, if you're an accountant, you know, you want to go there. If you're a mechanic, everything. And I'm telling you, these big tech companies, they literally have everything. They have fucking car washers. They have bike repair people. They have, so you should be there. March 18th is going to be at the Oakland Impact Hub. I do everything in Oakland, and you can find it on Eventbrite, and we'd love to have you there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Non-traditionally trained engineers in the Bay Area.
So is that what you type in when you go to Eventbrite?
Yep. Just put non-traditionally and it should come up, but non-traditionally trained engineers in the Bay Area.
All right.
And you can find me on that team. That's what is Z _ team. Yeah. Got some stuff.
That's it, nigga?
As far as this podcast.
What can in the future? What do you got going on in the future? What are you working on?
Well, just recently, now that I'm getting back into the swing of things after my Achilles rupture, I'm good walking now. So I'm just now getting back into my modeling. A couple of agencies have been contacting me. I've been back active, so getting into that work. So I'm just doing normal life things.
And you have a podcast coming soon?
And my podcast that's coming soon is called The Real Spiel. Just look out for it. You'll see it. Don't worry about it.
It might be produced by Everyday Celebrity Media.
We can definitely have more of these, man.
We
We
got to talk about that.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, thank you, Marco. Thank you, Haeem, for coming on the show.
100%.
Very educational, very uplifting and inspiring conversation. Search for these brothers on their social media. Yeah, listen to what they say. If you want to reach out to them, they gave you ways to reach out. If you want to reach out to me, everydaycelebritymedia.com, Everyday Celebrity Media, CO on Instagram, Everyday Celeb, PO, Twitter. And if you didn't catch their shit, you can reach out to me and then I can connect you to them. And yeah, so that was episode 16. Any last words?
Let's make sure that we connect. All three of us. Seriously.
100%.
I mean,
definitely.
we're talking about this black business, this black connectivity. You got shit going on. You got shit going on there. I'm certain there's a way I can help y'all.
For sure.
I don't even know what exactly it is you're doing. And I'm pretty sure
You
there's something-
helping now just by talking.
I'm pretty sure it's something y'all can do that can help me, right? And if
I
we-
can be secretive at times, but
Yeah.
as soon as we get comfortable,
I see that. I see that. You real
Yeah, he want
007 over
contracts
there.
and shit signed.
Right. NDA.
All right, yeah. So thanks again, Marco and Haeem. Everyday Celebrity. We out. You.
peace, love, and progression. Yeah.